second graders. Today is Tuesday, January 12th. You are in Reading Station 1. Today we are going to talk about story structure. And then in Station 2, we have a really fun book to read. So let's jump into what is story structure. Basically, story structure is just how a story is organized, how it is laid out. Stories often have a similar structure. Authors organize the plot in a way that will entertain readers. When we read a book, we focus on the beginning, the middle, and the end. In the beginning, we learn things in the book about the conflict or the problem that the characters face, and we are introduced to who the characters are and the setting, that kind of thing. In the middle, the events show the characters trying to solve that conflict. And the events at the end include the resolution or how the characters solve the conflict. So when we're reading, we look for evidence or clues in the text that describes a story's plot. Those were some pretty big words. Conflict, resolution, plot. Like, what do those words even mean? Well, let's jump in and find out. Conflict, something in a story that creates a challenge for the characters. It's also called the problem, but you already know that. You know what the problem is. So conflict is another word for problem. Resolution, which is how a story ends or how the conflict is solved, also called solution. So you've already known what problem and solution is. You've just learned more words that have a similar meaning like conflict and resolution. Then you have plot. And Miss Huff just noticed this, and this is why you should always proofread your work and check it before you turn it in. I forgot the letter T at the end of conflict. But plot. So the conflict, events, and resolution that make up the story's structure. So it's everything that's in the story, the conflict, all the events, how the problem is solved. That's what makes up the plot. Now that we understand conflict, resolution, and plot, let's look at that anchor chart one more time. So stories often have a similar structure, and authors organize the plot in a way that will entertain readers. So think about what plot is. They make sure they give us the characters having a problem and ways to try to solve that problem, and they do it in a way that entertains us. We focus on a beginning, middle, and end. And in the beginning, we learn about the characters, the setting, and the conflict or the problem that the characters are going to face in the story. In the middle, we read about events that show how the characters are trying to solve that conflict or problem. And in the end, we read about a resolution or a solution, how the characters were able to solve that problem. So as we're reading and being good readers, we want to look for evidence or clues in the text to describe a story's plot. You will get to practice identifying story structure elements when you listen to the read aloud book called Goldilocks and the Three Dinosaurs in Station 2. But first, Goldilocks and the Three Dinosaurs vocabulary. Remember, we have to touch on some vocabulary words before we jump into our reading. So these words that I'm about to show you, you will hear these words in our read aloud. So we have the word groggy. Say groggy. Good. Someone who is groggy is sleepy or weak. She was groggy from traveling and needed a place to sleep. I want you to just think for a moment about a time that you may have been groggy. Remember, groggy means sleepy or weak. Then you have barging. Say barging. Good. Someone who is barging in goes into a place with force. My brother and I came barging into the house. Then we have the word traipsing. Say traipsing. Good job. If you are traipsing, you are walking without really knowing where you are going. Claire had fun traipsing through the forest. Expression. Say expression. Awesome job. An expression is a group of words with a special meaning. When mom cannot find something, she uses the expression is like looking for a needle in a haystack. Varying. Can you say varying? Good job. If things are varying, they all have something different about them. We saw pumpkins varying in size from tiny to extra large. And then your final word is positioned. Say it. Good job. If you positioned something, you placed it where you wanted it. They positioned the couch in front of the window. All right, boys and girls, that is your vocabulary before we begin our story in Station 2. So in just a moment, we will begin Station 2. Make sure you get out your reading notebook and a pencil. You will need it during our story. So go ahead and turn to the very next blank page in your reading notebook and put today's date at the very top. You'll put a 1-12-21 for January the 12th, 2021. All right, see you in Station 2.